Hello, friends. Welcome back to the practice of being human. And welcome to today, where we're going to be building your relational resume. So, let me start by saying that last week I stood in front of a room of brilliant, ambitious, curious, lovely Notre Dame students in a class called Designing Your Life. It's in the business school. It's led by Professor Wendy Angst, and I think it's one of the best classes offered. I'm a little biased, but we can talk all day, every day, and develop the skill sets required for careers and impact and legacy and trajectory and goals and outcomes, all of those things. And I am on board for all of it. But before we talk the strategy piece, I told these young people, I said, listen, before you design your life out there, we need to talk about the life you're building in here. Because you can architect a wildly successful life from a wounded identity. And if the identity doesn't shift and it stays in that wounded place, everything is going to be directed from performance. The plan becomes performance. It becomes staying safe. It becomes finding belonging. It becomes seeking your worthiness, your value, your enoughness from outside in the world. And we live in a very performance metric culture. So that is on repeat for us. And most people just think it's the norm. And I say, let's really understand what it is to live our lives from more of a holistic place that brings into consideration not just the professional resume, but also the relational resume. It's the full package. And I want my people to be the full package. I don't want them operating from standing on one foot. I want them firmly planted. And I want them conscious and aware. And I want them in a place where, wherever their wounds are, that they're able to hold those, be aware of them, heal them, hopefully, as their lifetime unfolds, and in a way that they don't let those necessarily direct their lives unintentionally, but that they start directing their lives very intentionally and from a place within that starts with the very basics, which is I am seen, I am known, I am loved, I belong, I am enough. With that as your foundation, go crazy. You can build a wildly successful life from a very steady, sturdy place. But if that is not your foundation and you are operating from needing the outside world to tell you your worthiness and your value, you're going to be performance-based and you are going to be in a forever hustle. That is exhausting. It is burnout in the making. And it is what I would love for my people to not even consider. Because once they know that there's more and once they know how to do it, I think it's a no-brainer. So if you listen to psychotherapist Esther Perel, one of my absolute favorites, she often says that our adult lives are negotiations between our longing for freedom and our longing for belonging. And many of us learned very early, often without realizing it, that belonging required performance. And that meant be good, be easy, be impressive, be exceptional, be self-sufficient, be whatever keeps connection intact. My other favorite, Gabor Maté, teaches that the child will always choose attachment over authenticity. And again, so important to understand this as our origin story, right? Because what do we do when we're seeking and choosing attachment over authenticity? We adapt, right? We become what keeps us safe. And those adaptations become our identity. So when we later design our lives, we are often designing from that early adaptation, from a nervous system that still believes I am not enough as I am. And that leads to burnout, hustling for worthiness, chronic anxiety, relationships that lack depth and breadth and an ability to repair. And it's a life that looks maybe really sparkly and shiny and beautiful on the outside, but is lacking and depleted and shallow on the inside. So here's what I told these young adults, these fabulous 25 young people. Actually, there were also two more young adults in that audience, special visitors, surprise visitors, and that was my two youngest, Maura and Leo Brummel. So happy that they showed up and surprised me for this talk. But it also was just all the more reason I was like, this is why I do this work. This is so, so important. It is work of the heart. It's a soulful work and it matters, my friends. It matters. Okay. So body, mind, spirit, we feed and nourish all of them. So here's what I told these young people. I said to each and every one of them, I said, you are building two resumes, your professional resume, your relational resume. And the relational resume is what people experience when they work with you, when they love you, when they're loved by you, when they follow you or you follow them, when they partner with you, when they're parented by you. It includes emotional regulation, integrity, repair, self-awareness, courage, reliability, presence. Here's the thing about relational intelligence. All of those things, they are not soft. This is a very high form of intelligence, relational intelligence. And the people who know how to see others, the people who can regulate under stress, the people who repair after rupture, these are the leaders who build with heart, who build legacy. And these are the leaders people want to follow, not have to follow, choose to follow. So I started out sharing some pillars around relational intelligence. The first pillar is self-awareness and conditioning. We cannot design consciously if we are operating unconsciously. I guess that sounds pretty simple, but it's an important awareness. Many of us think we are self-aware because we can tell our story. We can narrate our story. I could do it with the best of them. I used to think I was super self-aware until I learned otherwise. But intellectual awareness is not transformational awareness. Self-awareness means asking things like, what did I have to become to stay loved? What role did I play in my family? What feeling am I trying to avoid? Really think about that one. So oftentimes the things that we want, we end up avoiding because we're not willing and able to feel something. So what feeling am I trying to avoid? And what belief about myself is quietly driving my ambition, which might be that I've been told who I am and what I need to be doing to be enough, to be successful, to be loved all my life. I've never asked the question or even been asked the question, who am I? What do I want? What lights me up? What am I good at? And what would a need in the world be that I could fill by doing what I love, what brings me joy, what I'm good at, and really make a difference? So if the belief about yourself that's quietly driving your ambition is that, awesome. But if it's, I'm not enough if I don't do A, B, C, or I have to do this in order to be considered loved, accepted, successful, that's where we could get ourselves in trouble. Okay, so one of my other favorites, Kelly Brogan, she speaks about moving from victim consciousness to creator consciousness. And I mention this because you cannot shift into agency until you see the story you're running. So we ask, what am I designing from? Is it fear, scarcity, comparison, competitiveness, a need to prove, or love, curiosity, contribution, excellence, freedom? Awareness is the first act of self-leadership, and you really want to grow that muscle of awareness. Pillar 2 is another important one, emotional capacity and the nervous system literacy. I talk about this every day, pretty much in every conversation I have in some way, shape, or form. Because here's the thing, most high-achieving young adults are not incapable, but what they are is often activated and dysregulated. And Ellen Vora, a psychiatrist, holistic psychiatrist, who I love to follow as well, she teaches the difference between true anxiety and false anxiety. And I talked about that in a previous podcast episode. She is able to really walk us through what's false, what's true, without in any way minimizing either, but understanding that false anxiety is often lifestyle driven, which is sleep deprivation, blood sugar swings, caffeine overload, screen addiction, kinds of things. Okay, so false anxiety is often lifestyle driven. True anxiety is more existential. It's uncertainty, it's growth, it's expansion, it's alignment. But here's the key. When you resist a feeling, your nervous system interprets that resistance as a threat. And back to Gabor Maté, he reminds us the body keeps the score. If you cannot sit with discomfort, you will build a life organized around avoiding it. And here is the thing that many, I think, of the young adults in the room heard differently than they, I think, have ever heard. Confidence grows when you feel insecurity and you stay. You feel embarrassment and you breathe, you ground. You feel fear and you stay. You do not escape. You hold, you acknowledge, and you dig in. So one of the exercises that we talked about in the class around feeling our feelings and the importance of being in discomfort, and the better we get at discomfort, the better we get at life, right? Because there's a lot of discomfort that comes with growth and with evolution and being human in general. So I talked to them about the concept of microdosing discomfort. And I had to laugh because I was like, look, this isn't about microdosing the way you hear it. This is microdosing discomfort. And what I mean by this is when you feel discomfort and you typically scroll or you check out or you do something to get away from it, I want you to stay for 30 seconds. Just stay. Stay with the discomfort. And maybe that means you get a glass of water in the process, or you go out and get a minute of fresh air. But for 30 seconds, the commitment here is instead of checking out, instead of deflecting, numbing, resisting, you stay. And you stay with the discomfort for 30 seconds. And you let all the things come up, like the racing heart, and you can put hands on your heart. You can put your feet on the floor and ground it with your feet. You can put your hands on your thighs and push down and push in. There's various things you can do. You can even, if needed, hum. You can do things that help you stay in that discomfort for a little longer, okay? moving your body. You can kind of sway, you can move, you can groove, whatever that is. Some of my clients actually do a little bit of a dance dance party. But regardless, it's a little premature. When you're still trying to figure out how to feel discomfort, you're probably not going to do a dance party. But point is, you are able and willing and capable of being anywhere for 30 seconds. And that might require a 5-second increment, right? But whatever it is, start. Notice the sensation, what's happening in your body. Let it move. Don't resist it. Don't attach thinking to it. Just be like, wow, that's big. That's big, big. Maybe that's big energy. Whatever it is, just acknowledge it, notice it, let it move. And when your brain, cool thing about this microdosing of discomfort and feeling your feelings is that when your brain learns that feelings are not threats, guess what happens? Your life literally expands. You open up. Discomfort is the currency of our dreams. I remember my coach, Brooke Castillo, telling us that many moons ago. And I thought, okay, I get it. What holds me back from anything that I really truly want? It's the fear. It's the fear of feeling something, disappointment, rejection, failure, whatever it is. If I can get better at feeling those feelings, and I can get better at what I make them mean, that there's no problem here. This just means I'm showing up, I'm trying something new, something different, something big, something expansive. Then I'm able to engage with that in a way where I can start moving the needle towards what it is I really want. But if I don't get good at discomfort, I stay safe, I stay small, and I feel like I contract. So when your brain learns that feelings are not threats, your life, my friends, will expand. Pillar 3, living from values. So important. Because if worth is negotiable, performance becomes your currency. But if worth is a set point, it's a given, it's a done deal, then goals become expression, not compensation. Values are not words, they are behaviors. And for me, I was asked by the students in the class, and I said, some of my core values are courage, growth, play. And for me, courage means failing and returning. Growth means evolving. Play means doing things without needing to be good. It's the antidote to perfectionism. There's no rules to it, right? And boy, do I need to play more in my life. And presence, I think, is another one for me. It means being here, not 10 steps behind, not 10 steps ahead, but right here. The miracle of right here, right now, my life. So I want you asking yourself, on a scale of 1 to 5, how clearly can you name your values? What are driving your actions, your behaviors, your words? And do your daily decisions reflect those? Designing your life from values feels entirely different than designing from a wounded identity, than designing from fear. Plain and simple. Pillar 4, relational intelligence. The quality of your life will mirror the quality of your relationships. And Esther Perel teaches that the quality of our relationships determines the quality of our lives. So can you have hard conversations? Are you capable of that? Are you willing to be in that discomfort? How about repair? How are you doing there? We all have ruptures in relationships, but how are you doing with circling back? How are you doing with mending fences? Can you stay curious instead of defensive? Hold tension without collapsing. Your relational resume, my friends, determines burnout, longevity, fulfillment, impact, purpose, nourishment, leadership. So to close for today, Let's say you're architects and you're drawing blueprints, mapping trajectories, designing impact. But no architect starts with the windows, right? They start with the foundation, because the height of a building is determined by the strength of what's underneath it, right? It's the same as a tree. It needs deep roots to be able to expand and grow and stretch its roots to the sky. If the foundation is cracked, if the roots aren't deep enough, you could still build something impressive, but you will live bracing for collapse. You'll live bracing for the elements. So before you build higher, my friends, build deeper. Strengthen the internal structure, your nervous system, your self-awareness, your values. Think about what those are. You can always change your mind. Your relational intelligence, a form of very high intelligence, your capacity to repair, your ability to stay when it's uncomfortable. Because the world will offer you opportunity pretty much every step of the way. But only your inner architecture determines whether you can hold it. So design your career, for sure, that's a yes. Design your relationships, that's another yes. But most of all, design the self who will live inside the life you're building. Pause. It's all going to be okay. You are okay. Breathe. And we will resume in part 2.